Everybody can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. We're letting people into the meeting, so we're going to wait a minute to make sure everybody can sort of load in. Okay. Now there has to be. So the Miami-Dade County Public Schools is transitioning away from Zoom, and we're now going to be using Google Meet for our meetings. So we're back to a little learning process here. If you see me kind of fumbling around my screen, I apologize in advance. Everything is kind of a little bit different than what I'm used to. I do want to share with everyone, we will be recording this meeting, and I will send the video tomorrow at some point when I have the opportunity to upload it to YouTube and then share the link. So in case anything happens, you will have access to this at a later date for clarification purposes. I do know in looking around at this Google Meet platform, there is the ability for captioning. So if you want to have this translated, I was using the translated captions earlier and it seemed to work well. So that might be something that helps understand if I say something a little unclearly, what's going on with this presentation. So I think I'm going to go ahead and begin at this point. Senior parents, we're so close to the end. I want to congratulate you. Your children are ready to take their exams and finish this part of their lives and move on to the next part. So I'm very happy and excited for them. My goal is to keep this meeting at about 30 minutes. We're going to keep our fingers crossed because I know everybody has a lot to do, and I do, of course, appreciate your time. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we're moving forward in the meeting and I don't lose you. Michelle is here. She's one of my IB Executive Council students, and she's going to be helping with the recording. I do have other students here that are helping. Nicole and Lucia are helping with this meeting as well. So hopefully everything's going to run smoothly with this presentation. So with that said, I'm trying to find my presentation. Okay. So do you, I think everybody can still see my presentation, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Perfect. I have received some emails from parents asking for their child's test calendar. They were given a printout of their test calendar back in November. If they have misplaced it, they can access their exam calendar through ManageBack. They can go to their exam planner, and there is a button at the top right where they can ask it to create a printout of what their exam days and whether it's a morning exam or an afternoon exam. So if you're trying to make plans or you're trying to figure out what their schedule is, they have access to that at any time through Manage Back, in addition to the printout I have already provided to them. Wait, I think we're a little too far. Okay. I want to begin by explaining that this field trip, it's called the Senior Privilege Field Trip. And what that means is that it is something that is special and unique for IB students. We do not do this with any other students at Coral Gables Senior High. And it's because we want them to have the best test experience possible and for them to be able to optimize their sleep and their studying and focus on really finishing off the program with their best efforts. So one of the ways that the school is going to identify who they are is they will be given a wristband through TOK2. Their TOK2 teacher will actually place it onto the student, and they will have to wear this for the duration of their exam schedule. The official dates of the field trip are May 5th through the 22nd. Exams end on May 21st. However, we incorporated the IB Senior Brunch date as well so that students would still be on their field trip to be able to go to senior brunch. If anything happens to this wristband, the very direct answer is they are removed from the field trip then. They cannot remove this wristband at any point because it is what the security guards are going to use. They're going to use in identifying who is supposed to be testing for IB and who is not. So it is very important that they take care of this wristband and that they do not damage or remove it during this exam window. Getting to campus is an ongoing challenge for some students. I know you all have questions about it. What's going to happen is that each student is going to get a personalized parking permit with their specific exam dates. Even if a student doesn't drive, everybody's going to get a permit that will allow them to move onto campus and off campus at these designated times. If parents have to pick up or drop off, they will be doing this during these windows of time of when they can come onto campus and leave. And they can use the Lejeune parking lot. What I was explaining earlier to the students is that if they are a student who currently has a parking permit for the Riviera or Strip parking lot, they will continue to park in that parking lot. There will be security guards that will open and close that parking lot at designated times. Now, if that parking lot is full, those students will overflow over to the Lejeune parking lot towards the back end where the PE fields are located. And if necessary, they will open the PE field so that students can park on the PE field. Students who do not have a parking permit will be parking in that Lejeune parking lot as well. So they're either in the Riviera lot or the Lejeune parking lot, and they are going to be able to come to school, hopefully, once the traffic has dissipated some. I know last year I pointed out that, even an extra hour of sleep can make a difference for these students, and that's really what we want for them. The school day generally starts at 7:15. And our exams AM exams start at 9 a.m. and PM exams start at 1 p.m. But they will need to report and be at school by 8 a.m. for AM exams and 12 p.m. for afternoon exams. And I think that if your child only has a PM exam, it's a great benefit for them to be able to come later in the day. And the converse, if they only have a morning exam, I think it's a great benefit for them to be able to leave rather than waiting for the end of the school day. If they have both morning and afternoon exams, they will stay on campus by the auditorium with me under supervision for the entirety of the day. They will not be allowed to leave campus and come back. Once they're there for their safety, we want them to be with us supervised so that they are able to take their tests. These parking permits will be distributed as close to the exam window as possible. So at the last week of April, their TOK2 teachers will make sure they get their personalized parking permit. Here to go over again the arrival to school, AM exams are 8 a.m., PM exams are 12 p.m. They will be checked in front of the auditorium, and they need to come prepared to only go to that location. I've been telling students if they have a morning exam, understand that they're leaving, they're not having lunch at school, they need to bring food if they need food during the school day at some point. Additionally, I have been asked by the administration to remind all the students, and I'm sharing with parents today, that all school rules are in place. They are concerned about school uniform and students coming to their exams out of uniform. And I am sharing with you that is an expectation that the school maintains regardless of whether the child is only there to take a test or not. So I have conveyed that as I've been asked. Exam materials of what they are allowed to bring. They can bring their pens. Blue pen is my recommendation. Make sure it's not a gel shiny pen. Remember, their exams will be scanned, and sometimes those shiny inks, they reflect poorly and the scan is compromised. So, very traditional blue ink pens are what are recommended. Make sure their calculators have batteries, that no calculator is going to stop working in the middle of an exam. They will need to bring dark leaded pencils for their science exams where they have multiple choice. They must have their school ID. Again, water bottles will be allowed into the exam room, but only with water. Clear liquids are the only acceptable liquid inside the exam room for obvious reasons. If something were to spill on an exam, we need it to be as clear as possible. The auditorium can be cold at times. They should bring sweaters, sweatshirts. I will have some earplugs for all students to get one pack for noise distraction purposes. If they have their own personal earplugs, they will need to show me so that I can approve those earplugs. They are not allowed to use earbuds or anything electronic. And then finally, again, a reminder, please make sure they pack lunch, pack snacks, especially if they want to eat during the day. What is not allowed? They are going to hear over and over again that during their exams, they cannot use highlighters, they cannot use colored pencils. But more importantly for me, they are not allowed to have any sort of electronic devices. Obviously, phones will not be allowed in the exams, and we are now looking at glasses, if they are electronic in some way or digital in some way. Rings and watches are not allowed. At the beginning of every exam, they will be asked to show that they have no electronics on them. In working through and going through this field trip, students will be made aware that they're on a field trip. They are not there to go visiting teachers. They are not there to go visit offices. They are not there to carry out I only have this one little thing to do. The only location they are approved to be is the auditorium. And that is something that is non-negotiable. The rest of the building for the month of May, everybody is testing, whether it is the advanced placement exams, the end of course exams, the progress monitoring exams, and there's constant movement in the building. And for that reason, the security guards are very clear in that they want to make sure they're not trying to figure out where IB students are supposed to be when they're on a field trip. So it is non-negotiable. If a student cannot comply with this, they will lose the privilege and they will have to report to class as normal. Again, to clarify, if there are seniors who are registered to take AP exams, they have to attend their AP exam. This was already an agreement, a contract they signed with the school that they were going to, in good faith, take their AP exams. So for that purpose only, yes, they are allowed to go to their AP exams. That is the only sort of justification, and that will most likely be in the gym. So they're not going too far from the auditorium. A reminder about food. Some students who have back-to-back AM and PM exams, they will be allowed to study by the auditorium. They'll have a teacher there to supervise them, but they will only be allowed to study from printed or written materials. They will not be allowed access to any digital devices because of test security purposes. IB has been very clear in all of their communications with coordinators that they do not want students to have access to the internet when possible during the exam windows. So in advance, I'm sharing that they will be told by their teachers as well to bring study materials that are physical, that are on paper, that are books, that are notes that they can study while they wait for their next exam. And to clarify, because they may not realize this, one of the reasons why they cannot go visit classrooms or teachers is that their teachers will be invigilating exams. They will be proctors themselves. They are not going to be in classrooms waiting to help them with any last minute question. There's only one consequence to any student that cannot comply with this field trip, and that's removal. And it sounds pretty harsh, but there is no middle ground. The student's either on the field trip, this is a privilege, this is not offered to any other students, or they're in classrooms. So what happens if they're in classrooms? They must get to school at 7:15. That class most likely will be displaced. They will have to go wherever that displaced location is. And they will, at times, one of the reasons why I started to do this is students would express frustration at how hard it was to study because the classroom was so loud or nobody else was studying and they were the only ones. So again, I'm trying to emphasize that the purpose of this field trip is to keep them focused on what they should be doing, which is preparing and studying for their exams. And I want to make sure they have a way to do this without the distractions of the logistics of the rest of the building processing their own exams. At this time, I do, again, to show how, I guess, much of a priority it is for us that these students are starting to sort of get into the mindset of studying. We are working with students to set up study groups. And Michelle, at this point, can you explain a little bit about the study groups?
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Van Wyk. And thank you, everybody, for being here. We're so happy to have you. So these study groups are facilitated by IB Executive Council. These study groups are led by students whom the teachers have recommended themselves and have advocated for to lead them. They essentially are going to be groups of students where two students will be going over material to give them an extra boost in order to ensure that they get their diploma or even get the highest score on an exam. So we're really happy to host these sessions. It's truly a labor of love. and they're going to be really in depth. We're really excited to have them. Please scan the QR code to RSVP your student or your children there. Um, we have all the IB subjects we offer, except for a few electives, but we do have core subjects there. So please scan and make sure you sign up your student. Thank you.
Thank you. And they really have put in a great effort at collaborating with the teacher, securing study materials, making sure that the study group hosts have had time to plan out what they're doing. And each group will have an agenda of what they're covering at that study group. So we're trying to make sure that it's very intentional and purposeful so that nobody is wasting their time and that everybody feels that there is some benefit to that commitment of going to a study group. So with that said, I only have a couple more slides just as FYIs. Some parents, if your child does have extended time, you may be wondering, how do we handle that if they didn't share with you how we did it last year? Within the next 2 weeks, I will be meeting with all the students who are approved for extended time, and I will go over with them their procedures of how they will check in and where they will go for their exam. But just so that you know, we do kind of accommodate students based on what we have, what resources we have, and the structure of the exam itself. For that reason, I am going to kind of make sure that everybody's on the same page, that the extended time students must be there on time with regular time students. They cannot be late because the entire test room has to start together. So just to be clear, all the start times are the same for everyone. What will change is how much time they may have to finish the exam. However, we do still have to turn around the next exam. So it is a very tight ship that we have to run to make sure that everybody can be tested and kind of finish up for the day before they're turning on the alarm to the school building. So with that said, I must impress upon you how important it is. The only way this field trip works is if the students are on time to their exams. I'm trying to give them as much time as possible, but with that, I ask for them to be very respectful of when they need to be in the auditorium so that we all can do what we're there to do on that day. And then that's it. This is the last part of the meeting. If you want to take a picture of this QR code, you may not be able to access the form. It must be through your student's Microsoft account. But the TOK teachers, the TOK2 teachers will be checking and giving a grade for this attendance because we need to make sure that everybody understands the structure of the field trip and how it's going to work so that we all can work together in making this successful for your students and that they have, again, a good test experience. So I'm going to leave this screen on. And like I said, I was trying very hard to make sure I'm being very clear and focused for you. I thank you for your time. If you don't have any questions, you are welcome to leave. If you have questions, I'm going to try to figure out how this question stuff works. And maybe the co-host can help me too if they've figured it out, because I still don't see where I find the questions. Let me see.
I don't think the questions are listed there, but I do see people raising their hand. I believe those are for questions.
So
if anyone wants to ask a question, there are meeting tools. There should be a Q&A section there.
Okay, there are meeting tools. I'm trying to open the queue to allow them. I think I just am going to uncheck on the microphone. Can I uncheck their microphone? Nope, I can't uncheck it. Can they unmute themselves? I believe so. So, Miss Wagner, or if this is not Miss Wagner, would you like?
Yes.
Would you like?
This is Miss Wagner. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. First of all, great presentation. Super clear. I appreciate all the time that went into it on your end, putting it together. I did have, it may have been on my end, but I did have trouble hearing it clearly. So my first question is, I'm hopeful that the recording that we will receive when you're available to provide us with the link will have access to hopefully all of the audio clearly. Just in the case that it wasn't on my end, I wasn't able to understand everything. It would just kind of freeze up for a little while. But more directly, one of my questions is regarding when a student takes the test, if that student is to finish earlier than the total allotted time, is that student able to leave the room earlier, or are they required to stay there the entire time? And then I have two more questions.
So IB, I'm still waiting for clarification from IB. IB has sent communication that says we must keep the students 2 hours from the beginning of the test time. And in some cases, that is the entire exam. In some cases, if there are 2 papers, right, back to back, then they would be there anyway because of the fact that we have 2 papers to do. So officially on paper, what I know that I am following is that they are required to stay supervised 2 hours. Now, does this mean they have to stay in the test room with everybody? That is where I have to see what resources I have, if I can afford to lose an invigilator to have them supervise students outside of the auditorium.
Okay. And so when that information is available, I welcome that. And one of the reasons, which leads to my follow-up question on that same thing, if a student is able, once they finish a test completely, pretend it's an hour and a half, and that's the case, if the student is able to exit that room and perhaps just go to the auditorium and wait there, if they are not allowed to have a phone, which is another question, then how will the parent know if perhaps that's the right time to pick up the student, or are parents required to only pick up students at a specific set time?
So the parking lots will only open at certain times. If a parent is picking up a child, their phones are going to be in their bags. It's not that they don't have their phones. They're just not going to be able to use and hold their phone while they're in their test room, right? We keep the bags in the auditorium lobby while they are inside taking their exam. Previous years, the official rule was that they had to stay the first hour and they could not leave the last 15 minutes. So I am expecting IB to provide clarification as to the discrepancy between 2 hours and the previous rule of 1 hour and the last 15 minutes. Either way, the child can expect to be there for sure through paper 1, right? Whatever the first paper is. And the only difference realistically is whether they get to leave half an hour earlier or not.
Okay, in the event, which is the case of my child, but in the event that the student has a medically necessary need to have a snack, and after 2 hours or like 1.5 for medical reasons, is there any space? And a snack could just be a few nuts. Is that something that is allowed?
Absolutely. There is no intention to keep a child from eating. So if they're there, if their exam starts at 9 o'clock and they're with us at 8 o'clock, obviously we'll have time to snack before the exam. There is no IB exam that is going to run past, these are extended time students, 11:30. So, and the next exam will not officially start until 1 o'clock. They check in at 12. What they cannot do though is say, I want to go to the cafeteria to buy food. They have to stay on the premises of the auditorium where they're supervised.
Okay, so then to confirm and make sure that I understand this, so if they need a snack, if they need to have a snack, they can have it with them. It's probably going to be in a bag somewhere away from the testing site, I would imagine. But then for clarification, once the test begins, 0 snacks are allowed until the test is over. And I can anticipate a 2-hour test time window. And then if they do have an AM and a PM test that day, then they will have 11:30, 12:30. 1 hour in the auditorium, nowhere else, where they can then have their snacks or their lunch that they would have brought from home. And if they need water, they can refill their water bottle again in the auditorium. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And thank you for all the parents being so patient. That takes care of my questions. Thank you. I'll mute myself again.
Okay. Ms. Sabga, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? Okay, Mr. Levito?
Yeah, hi. This form, is it all we need for proof that we were here?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
no problem.
See ya.
Bye-bye. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I do. Sorry about that.
Okay,
The parking, if the child has a parking space already, do they just park anywhere or they use the same parking spot that they've had?
they use their same parking spot.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
I have a quick question.
Okay,
Are you going to send like a summary of the meeting, like meeting notes by email?
we clicked on the button and we hope yes.
Okay,
Again, I'm going to remind everyone, this is really my first time using this platform. So yes, that is the intention.
thank you.
Ms. Bowie?
Hi, I have a question regarding students who don't drive to school. If they walk or bike, do they still use the same Riviera entrance? And I mean, is it like business as usual?
Yes,
Okay.
they just have to be there at the right times.
Great.
Okay. Any other questions? Ms.
There's
Facino?
someone raising their hand.
Ms. Lana Vicino?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I wanted to know if my child could, I mean, she goes on bus in the afternoon, so they would not be able to stay that time frame to get on the bus if she has an afternoon
Well,
exam.
considering, so this is something that when we did test registration, I've explained to them and their teachers, all our exams start at 1 p.m. Most exams are not going to finish until 2:30.
So past the time.
Correct.
And then
So
what
we-
about in the morning? Because I'm a school teacher as well, and I leave her early. Would she be able to be there at 7:15 if she can't be there at 8? Because that would be difficult on me. I would be late to my school.
I understand, and she can be outside of the auditorium sitting with the other students who are there.
Okay, perfect.
They
That's
just
all I
can't
wanted to know.
wander, they can't wander the building.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Last call for questions. Okay. Michelle, if you can go ahead and stop the video. And I thank all of